So now that the Gallantry Mac 10 has had its nerf, a lot of people are moving over to start using the Cold War MP5. And if you're considering making the switch over to the Cold War MP5, this video is going to give you the best class setup, along with the stats to explain why it's so good. If you enjoy watching tips and tricks videos, weapon stat breakdowns, and weapon comparisons, subscribe to our channel as we try to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. If you just want to see what the best class setup is, feel free to skip to that section of the video. I will leave a timestamp, but if you want a full explanation to why this class setup is the best, stick around for the rest of the video. Firstly, the main reason why a lot of people are switching to this gun is because it actually has the fastest time to kill out of all of the SMGs in the entire game. The next section of this video is taken from TrueGameData.com, and a link to their website will be in the description down below. This is the easiest way for us to show you how the time to kill for the Cold War MP5 stacks up against the other SMGs in the game. And the first thing we can notice is that the Cold War MP5, if we're only considering chest shots only, has the fastest time to kill out of all of the SMGs in the game. If you do mix in headshots, some of the other SMGs do come out on top, but most people do aim just for center mass anyway, because we all know that the Mac 10 does have a 50 millisecond open bolt delay, which needs to be considered when factoring in your time to kill values. So what we can see here, like I said, in the orange line, we have the Cold War MP5, the cyan line is the Fennec, the pink line here is the Modern Warfare MP5, and then we have the green line, which is the Mac 10. We've also got the AUG and the AK-74U here for reference as well, but these guns have a much lower time to kill if you're aiming for chest shots only. So we're going to remove those two last guns because they're not that useful. And what we can notice now is that the Fennec actually has a really fast time to kill. The only issue with the Fennec is that you do get a really small magazine and the rate of fire is much faster than the Cold War MP5. And that is why I feel like this is going to be one of the best SMGs in the entire game. Next to the Modern Warfare MP5 as well, because it is a great gun still. The recoil on the Modern Warfare MP5 is much easier to manage than the Cold War MP5. And if you want to see a comparison on those two guns, a link will be in the description down below. If you're only using these guns within about 10 meters, and this is where they should be getting used, the Cold War MP5 is really hard to beat. Zooming in a little bit closer now, the Cold War MP5 up to 9 meters has a time to kill of 492 milliseconds, which is extremely fast. Then we have the Fennec, which has a time to kill of 498 milliseconds, but this extends out to 12.6 meters. Then we have the Modern Warfare MP5, which at a damage drop off of 9.5 meters kills in 526 milliseconds. And then lastly, we have the Mac 10, which extends up to about 15 meters and has a time to kill of 538 milliseconds. Of course, most of these guns drop off significantly afterwards, especially after about that 10 meter mark. A lot of the guns do drop off, and that is where the Mac 10 shines, is because it does have that fast time to kill all the way up to 15 meters. But like I said, if you're only using these guns in less than 10 meters, you've got a lot of really good options here with the Cold War MP5, the regular MP5, and the Fennec. After looking at this time to kill chart myself, I thought it was pretty obvious that the Cold War MP5 would be the best SMG, but it's not that simple, because when you actually use this gun, you realize that the recoil for the gun is so hard to control, it's ridiculous. The gun travels up so fast for the recoil, and if you try to use it past 10 meters, it's almost impossible to use. And after testing every single attachment that would affect recoil for the MP5, and even some attachments that wouldn't even seem like they would affect recoil, we managed to get this recoil chart that you're seeing on screen just now. Now, the Cold War MP5 is a very tough recoil pattern to master. If you still try and control the recoil pattern with the attachments, it's still very difficult, but as you can see, the attachments we used significantly reduced the vertical recoil of this gun. And we made sure to test this past that 10 meter mark, because this is where it's going to be very hard to control the recoil. If you're up close and in someone's face, you don't really need to manage the recoil all that much, and the fact that it kicks upwards makes it easier to land headshots as well, but at those longer distances is where you're going to struggle. With the attachments we used, it also feels like there's less recoil in the gun, therefore making it easier to manage. This is kind of hard to explain through words, so what I'm going to do is show you the class setup we used, and you can try it out for yourself. So here's the class setup. We have the SOCOM Eliminator to reduce the vertical recoil. We've got the rifled barrel, which also reduces vertical recoil as well, which is not stated in game. the Field Agent Grip, which does reduce recoil overall for most guns, the SWAT 5mm laser, and the Salvo 50 round fast mags. After our testing, we realized that every other barrel does not affect recoil positively. Every other muzzle does affect recoil somewhat, but the SOCOM Eliminator is definitely the best for that vertical recoil. If you do want to use another attachment, the Agency Suppressor is a good option as well, but it definitely doesn't help that vertical recoil as much as the SOCOM Eliminator. We tested every single underbarrel as well. The Bruiser as well as the Patrol Grip did seem to help the vertical recoil a tiny bit, but the Field Agent Grip was by far and away the best at controlling vertical recoil. And every other underbarrel was pretty much useless. Even the foregrip doesn't really make any sense here because the main issue for the MP5 recoil is not horizontal, it's actually vertical recoil. Most people will stick to the 50 round fast mags because it is the best option. You could swap out the 5mm laser for a different attachment altogether, but considering the hipfire benefits it gives you, I wouldn't really recommend swapping this out. On the screen now, you can see the hipfire chart with and without attachments, and you can see how accurate the MP5 is with that 5mm laser. Even the base MP5 is pretty accurate, but like I said, with that 5mm laser, you don't even need to aim down sights with this gun at close range. So the last thing we need to check is if there's any negative impacts from using these attachments on the Cold War MP5. Most of these attachments do state that they slow down your overall movement speed, which is correct. The main thing we're looking for here is any hidden changes, not the things that is stated in-game. On the screen here, you'll see some of the stats for the Cold War MP5. In blue is with the attachments, green is just some highlight areas, and white is the base weapon. And what we can see here is the headshot damage for the Cold War MP5 is a 6-shot kill up close, the body shot damage is an 8-shot kill up close, the rate of fire is 854 rounds per minute, and this does not change with any of the attachments. Even though the rifled barrel says it gives you a damage range increase, it doesn't really change the damage range from what we were able to test. So what that means is you're going to get your 492 millisecond time to kill between 0 and 9 meters, you're going to get your 632 millisecond time to kill between 9 and 16 meters, and then you're going to get your 773 millisecond time to kill after 16 meters. Equipping all of these attachments does not change your aim down sight time, which is amazing to know. The magazine size does change, of course, from 30 to 50, which is the most important part about those salvo mags. The base reload time for the Cold War MP5 is 3.5 seconds. Adding on those salvo mags reduces this down to 2.75 seconds, and this is from fully emptied. But if you do still have one bullet left in your magazine with those salvo mags, this reduces the reload time down to 1.7 seconds, which is a significant decrease in reload time. And lastly, the bullet velocity does not change by adding any of these attachments. So there we have it, the best class setup for the Cold War MP5. Most of these attachments are based around reducing that vertical recoil for the gun, because I feel like this is the main issue with the gun in the first place. Everything else is pretty good, the reload times, the time to kill, but landing those shots is going to be really difficult. The only thing I would recommend changing with this gun is swapping out that SOCOM Eliminator for an Agency Suppressor if you do want a silenced weapon. Every other attachment I would leave exactly as it is. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave us a like, as it helps us get recommended more, and it took a long time to get all the testing done for this video. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for watching.